Hey everyone, welcome to this channel. I'm really excited for this video today because I interviewed our guest. Her name is Wafa. She is an ex-banker and current wellness coach. She'll be sharing all her tips and tricks for staying healthy, maintaining our well-being, maintaining our work-life balance within the next few questions. And it was just a great time talking to her. So I'm really excited for everyone to check this video out and hope you enjoy. Hello everyone, I'm so excited to have for you our guest of the day today. Her name is Wafa and she's an ex-banker, now a wellness coach, and she's going to be sharing a lot of wisdom and good concrete advice for everyone about like burnout, about how to keep a work-life balance, especially in finance. So Wafa, why don't you take it away? You could tell us more about your story and what made you decide to switch industries and quit finance.
Sure. Hey, Amy. Hello, everyone. It's so good to be here with you guys. Yes, I'm a wellness and career coach. And back in the day, I used to work in finance in corporate America and precisely in New York. I worked in leveraged finance, which is definitely a fast-paced division of the bank to work in. And I, at first, as I always love to share, I love the glory of the banker life. The prepaid meals in the evening, the cabs and all the buffets, after the pitch meetings. That was fun. Of course, the learning curve and all the sharp people around you. But at that point, it didn't cut it for me anymore because, I was craving more connection with people in the workplace. I was a bit bored with all the transactional aspect of things on a day-to-day.
Mm-hmm.
And so it was only when I found myself crying at 4 a.m. behind my cubicle in front of a model before a financial model. Now I'm laughing about it, but back in the day I was not.
Mm-hmm.
I was doing a model, I was figuring out how to do it. And I just was weeping uncontrollably, thinking, what am I doing with my life? And that's when I started noticing that something was off. And it's when I looked around me and noticed that I was not the only one. And so that's when I decided to slowly, do a search about myself, soul searching, introspection that led me to coaching, that led me to open my own practice in coaching. And today I'm a career and wellness coach. And basically what I do, I help millennials in finance, in consulting, and in fast-paced industries around the world, in French and in English, to get really clear on the next steps of their career. Should they stay in banking or consulting or in their firms? Should they, ask for a promotion? Should they switch to a different industry or even open their own company?
Mm-hmm.
And I also help them with everything related to confidence, energy, and implementing a healthier and more balanced work routine.
I see. Oh, that's so cool. And now we're getting a free lesson of everything. Well, I guess the first question I would have for you is probably the most sought after question, because as we know, in consulting or banking or many other industries, we have like such busy work schedules and the potential of working like 12-hour work days a week. On top of all of that, how do we learn how to stay healthy while juggling like work, exercise, food, and sleep?
Yeah, sure. I'm happy to answer this question. So yeah, it's definitely one of the top questions I get is how to stay healthy and have a good work-life balance in those fast-paced industries. And honestly, today I'm feeling in the mood to share very practical and basic tips. I don't want to overcomplicate things today because in the industry, I feel like we overthink everything. There's a lot of processes when it comes to sending out a resume and finding a new job. We spend a lot, we spin our wheels on, oh my God, the format is okay. Is there a comma here? We overthink things. And the goal here is to really get acquainted with this new mindset of make things simpler. And so in France, we have this rapper and French artist that's called San, which some of you may know. And a few years ago, he topped the charts with a song called Simple Basique. And that basically means simple and basic. And so for every question you'll ask me today, I'll go straight to the point and give you super practical and simple tips. So how to stay healthy when we work in such fast-paced industries? Make things simple. So when it comes to, food, for example, I know that's a big item for people. When you work 10 plus hours every day, do you have time to spend 1 hour and a half every day to meal prep? I don't think so. So when I know a lot of people that chat with me that work in big corporations, they tell me they order out all the time because they're too tired when they get home, after a long day of work. I'd suggest, if you want to get healthier, before we get into all the nutrition and we get into complicated concepts about macros and meal prepping and working out and hydration, honestly, what is really helpful and I'd recommend all of you to do is simply tell yourself, what is one meal that I could master right now in my day? So it could be breakfast, it could be your coffee break, it could be a dinner, whatever feels most comfortable for you. And then when you have identified which meal would be your go-to healthy meal, where you actually put in some effort, then ask yourself, what can I consistently do to make that meal as healthy as possible for me right now? For me, it's all about incorporating at least 2 vegetables per day. And so if your meal of choice is dinner, because then you're home, you're not at the office with all the distractions, work is done, then you tell yourself at least 2 vegetables in my plate tonight, every day. And you focus on that. And at first, it may not be pretty, it may not be, as easy as you'd expect, but practice makes perfect. And you would be surprised at how much more confidence you'll gain about yourself, how much your self-esteem also will be boosted after spending 1 week, 2 weeks, 1 month, 2 months consistently eating a bit healthier at dinner. So that's for food. For hydration, it's the same concept. On my YouTube channel, I've released my first video that talks about, my top tip to boost your hydration level when you're stuck at a desk for hours per day. And, if your simple step could be just to keep, a fully stocked, like a full bottle of water, of infused water next to you at all times, so that while I'm recording this interview with the great Amy, I always have water next to me. I don't have to pause and get up and go get it. And so then hours pass, and then at the end of the day at the office, or if you work from home, you end up thirsty, moody, and having brain fog because you forgot to hydrate. Finally, sleep, super important. Again, when you work 10 plus hours, make it really simple for you so that you can stay consistent. So I know most of professionals in the field, in banking, notably in the investment banking divisions, as well as in the top consulting firms, they sleep on average 6 hours per night, sometimes less, sometimes a little bit more when the deal flow is a bit slower. I would say find ways to optimize your sleep quality the easiest way possible for you. Is it making your room pitch black? Is it making sure you stop eating 2 hours before bed to avoid digestion and spiking your blood sugar while you're asleep, which negatively affects the quality of your sleep? Is it doing a bit of journaling and meditating before bed, just for 5 minutes? To make sure that you disconnect from work, to make sure that when you get to bed, this is you time. This is a wind down and relax time. I've given a few tips here, super practical, not getting too complicated here. How does that sound? Do you practice any of these?
Yeah, I really like it because, well, I think with regards to meal prep, what I do is like, I at least need to have a protein and a vegetable. And I think the point about you have to like set down these goals and put it aside, and then when you consistently finish them, I think that would continually like also give you confidence in like doing these goals, and it'll give you a sense of accomplishment and like a sense of control when you actually do it. So I think those are really good tips, and I definitely will also try practicing them too as well, like more mindfully start to practice them.
Amy, I love that you talked about mindfulness. This is what it is about. I love it. Thank you for bringing that term up. It's all about mindfulness. When I talk about, spotting one meal that you will consistently make efforts towards, is to help you be more mindful and more grounded in the present, instead of thinking about, oh my God, my work doesn't allow me to have a fully super healthy lifestyle. I don't have time. And you constantly think about something that you don't have control over yet, or is in the future. Here, you just focus on getting those 2 vegetables per meal, or having fruits at breakfast, or hydrating a bit more. You focus on that one thing. You're very present when you do it, because that's your sole intention. And once you master this one, as you said, your confidence will rise through the roof, and that will give you the energy, and the inertia to add in something more, or do something a bit more difficult. Like, it will give you inertia to challenge yourself a bit more.
Definitely agree. I'll go to our next question, which is with, as you mentioned, like there can be a lot of stress during work when we work so much, or on top of like everything juggling, like everything else as well. So how would we like manage our emotions, like at work, like in the office, or at home if we're working from home?
So when it comes to emotions, I love talking about this topic just because I'm an emotional person, and I love, learning new techniques and new ways to experience my emotions differently so that I can learn and grow with them. And I know that's such a huge taboo in the corporate space, and people who experience their emotions freely are often seen as less competent or a bit inappropriate, right? So, I always say that to manage emotions, we can break it down in different ways, but the way I like to break it down in a simple manner is 3 steps. So number 1, really acknowledge when your emotion comes. If there's a situation at work where you feel frustrated and perhaps even angry, recognize it. Allow yourself to recognize it and acknowledge it and say, hey, this is what I'm feeling right now. And by the way, it also helps to vocalize it or write it down. Vocalize it perhaps a bit quicker, but verbalizing and writing it down also helps. And instead of saying I am angry or I am frustrated, it's really helpful to disassociate yourself from the emotion, because you're not that emotion. And so saying I feel frustrated, I feel angry at the moment, helps you really understand that this is temporary. A feeling comes and goes. And so when you feel frustrated, you feel now, but will you feel frustrated in 2 hours, 2 days, 2 months? Not really, not sure. So that's the first step, acknowledge your emotion. And then number 2 is to process that emotion. It's really important to give you space to process that emotion, and, give you space to feel it. Okay, you feel frustrated. How does that express? How does that show in your body? Are your fists clenching? Is your jaw clenching? Are you biting your tongue? What's going on for you at that moment? Being aware of that will help you identify sort of where is this manifesting in your body, to be able to take necessary action to shift that emotion. Okay. And number 3 is to learn from it, understand what's triggered that emotion, and understand what's the underlying issue there. Are you frustrated because someone doesn't communicate well with you at work, doesn't give appropriate deadlines? Are you frustrated because you feel like you're not recognized enough in the workplace? There are many, many reasons why you could feel angry or frustrated at a given time. Now that we've talked about these 3 steps, let's take 2 scenarios. Number 1, where you work from home, and number 2, when you work at the office. So when you work from home, it's a bit different than when you work at the office. Of course, the setting is different. When you're at home, I guess for most people who have the luxury to have, some privacy in their houses or in their flats, it's easier to let yourself experience that emotion. If you want to cry, you can cry from the comfort of your bedroom, and then wipe your tears off, and then go back to that Zoom meeting. I've seen memes on the internet that showed that, like 5 minutes before, you're like a mess. 5 minutes later, you're like, hello, like what's going on, in the interview. So, have you seen that?
Yeah, I think it's like one of the beauties of working from home.
Yeah. Yeah. So when you work from home, you have the luxury to just take a time out and feel your emotions. If you're not alone, or if that doesn't do it for you, feel free to grab your coat, put on some sneakers, and take a walk. That's definitely helpful. And then to process your emotions, you can definitely take the time to journal or vocalize or record a voice memo talking about how frustrated or how angry or how sad or how happy and proud you may feel at that time. And again, working from home really gives you that luxury of being able to vocalize things in a more candid manner that you would do at the office. And processing it as well, same thing. To process when you're at home, you have a bit, I assume, for most of people, you don't have to go and take the train or the subway. We don't spend time commuting. So then that gives you more time to do something else. And that something else could be, taking 15 minutes before you go to bed, or at your lunch break, or at your coffee break in the balcony in sunny San Francisco, to think about, oh, why was I annoyed at that meeting? What happened for me? Now, if you work at the office, I guess here it's a bit more tricky sometimes to experience your emotions because you're surrounded by other people. You're surrounded by peers, what's more. So I think in order to process your emotions, the key here is just to remove yourself from the situation. When we're at the office, we don't control our surroundings as much as we do when we're at home. At the office, there's a million people around you at all times. So you never know what situation will trigger you, who's going to trigger your feelings. So when working from the office, it's good to develop this habit of every time I get triggered, you just sense that you're triggered before that comes to you full force. Get into the habit of removing yourself elegantly from the situation. It could be, excuse me, I have to go to the bathroom for a minute. Excuse me, I have to go get a glass of water. That's when you can express your emotions freely, cry, laugh, tear some paper, draw, do whatever, And then for step 2 and 3, which is process your emotion and then derive the lessons from it, you can do it when you have a little bit of space at the office, when you're by yourself, when you have a bit of a quiet time. If that doesn't happen, because I know, of course, finance consulting and similar industries are very intense, stressful, and fast-paced, then going to a conference room can be a solution where you're on your own, going to a conference room that's not on your floor. And listen, if you don't have the opportunity to process all of that when you're at work, just because the day goes on and on, then okay, fine. Wait until you're home. And then, of course, what we talked about a few moments ago applies. Finally, what I will say about processing emotions, something that I always share is make sure you give yourself some rules about experiencing emotions. No matter if you're at work or in your personal life, for all of us, this applies. And it is, tell yourself for how long you want to express your emotions for. So let's say if you're frustrated about something that happens at work, work around sort of a rule about you that you will experience whatever that emotion is for a given time. It can be an hour, it can be the whole day, or it can be the whole week. And then you tell yourself that when you get back home with your loved ones, or when you get into the weekend, it's time to move on. Otherwise, what happens is you will linger on that emotion for days on end, and you will bring that energy back to, your personal life. And that may negatively affect your loved ones and your friends and your family members. And we don't want to have that, because that directly impacts your sense of how good my life balance is at the moment.
Yeah, I agree with all of those tips. I definitely feel like I've also been trying to practice some of these, where every time I feel a different type of emotion at work, and I've learned that we shouldn't term them necessarily negative or positive, they're just emotions. And when I do the thing where I take a Post-it note and I write down what I feel and what caused that. And then after I write down, the next day when I look at it, I don't even remember that I had that emotion. And I realize that sometimes just recording it helps a lot and helps me process and learn about myself with what caused that as well. Thank you, Wafa, for that. And focusing on our next question is, just staying in the workplace or staying with our loved ones. I feel like we often get really distracted. You could be in the middle of conversation and then someone pings you or someone messages you and then you just look towards your phone easily. So on top of that, how can we stay focused and avoid distractions just to maintain our relationships, or just keeping focused at one thing, whether it's at work or at home?
Yeah. Once again, my answer will be simple and basic. So honestly, okay, when we work at home, it's really important to just communicate. I think no matter where we work, it's just really important to do a couple of things.
Mhm.
Number one is to communicate. Tell people around you, whether virtual or in person, that you're busy right now, you're focused on work, so that they don't come and ping you and knock at your door if it's, the people you live with, or randomly call.
Mhm.
So communicating can look like you can communicate this in many ways. When you're work from home, you can put a sign on your door that says, please don't disturb, I'm working from this hour to that hour.
Mhm.
You can tell them, listen, so when the doors close, that's a signal that I'm working and not to be disturbed. When you're at the office, it's a bit more tricky. So, I'm a fan of putting my, my message system, company message system, so whatever yours is, um, to put the status on busy. I think that's so useful, because then people know that you're busy and there's no shame about it, because you're actually there to get some work done.
Mhm.
So your management won't be upset. Um, and it's about educating people that you work with, developing these like consistent habits and saying, I typically take my breaks around that hour. Do you want to join me? And so then instead of telling people, listen, don't disturb me between that hour and that hour, you can tell them, you and I take a break that time every day, at the same time every day. Of course, I'm aware that the fast-paced nature of consulting and banking doesn't always allow for that. So then, yeah, working on the notifications, working on the status of the message system is always a great help. And then another simple tip is honestly something we all talk about but often never do, is to turn the phone off, put it on airplane mode, turning off notifications. If you don't feel comfortable putting your phone on airplane mode, then what I do is I just go and remove all notifications from all the apps. So then noise canceling earphones that we are all used to by now, listening to classical music, focus music, beats, or just nature sounds, or just nothing.
Mhm.
And sitting at an angle, whether at home or at the office, I used to do that, where you don't see everyone that passes around you. I used to sit next to an alley, a place where people keep on passing by to go to the bathroom in the cafeteria. Yeah, you too. So I sort of like twisted my body and like really hunched into the computer, which was not really good from a posture standpoint, but from a focus standpoint, it was really good, because with the hair a little bit and like that angle, then I don't see people, then I'm focused. And with the music, there I don't hear, I don't see, I'm focused. So
Oh,
these are my basic and simple tips for keeping focus, whether at home or at work.
I definitely appreciate those tips. Moving on to our next question as we begin to slowly wrap up. With so many things going on in life besides work, and we have a lot of other things with like the pandemic going on, it made us really focus on our inner selves and like see what we're interested in. And we might start other like side hustles or other studies, learn a new language. Like, how should we go about like progressing our personal goals with so many things going on in life besides work?
You see, I picked up on so many things going on in their life. And
Mhm.
that's the thing people often forget. I'm back to my previous intro part where I said simple basic, simple
Mhm.
and basic. If you already have so many things going on in your life, at work, that of course you can't remove. Like it's your responsibility, it's your career. You work 10 hours per day, 12 hours per day, 8 hours per day, no matter what. It's your job and you chose it, and you're there to benefit from a great learning curve. Great. We can't change that yet unless you specifically want to switch careers, right? So that's a given. And so keeping that in mind helps you just get out of denial, and also like lower the pressure on yourself, because often we forget what's already there, what you're already doing,
Mhm.
and then we sort of like challenge ourselves even more and to see how far we can push the envelope. The
Mhm.
reality is it's not often achievable to do that. I think challenging yourself doesn't need to look like you pushing yourself out to your max limit until you burn out. Challenging yourself can also look like being really aware about what's on your plate right now, and then deciding what's strategically achievable. What are the things that you can be consistent towards?
Mhm.
Now that we've reframed your perspective from, oh my God, I need to do everything, to I want to do a lot, but let's reframe because I'm already doing a lot. Okay. Now that we're there, I think it's a game of really identifying your top priorities. And whether in career and in life, by the way, you identify a few. The other day while I was coaching a client, I was, I gave him a visualization during the coaching session. And he was imagining that he was a clown in the middle of a circus, and he was juggling between a couple of balls, and then more balls, and then 6 and 7 balls. And then he dropped them. And he told me it felt really fun and enjoyable. My family was in the audience. We helped him visualize that as well. And it was so enjoyable when I had 2 or 3. But then as I kept on adding more and more, it felt like a hassle, and I was not enjoying the process. And I even forgot about the audience and even my family that was in the audience, which was just a metaphor for, if you take on too many projects, you're not going to be enjoying what's going on at work. So your performance, your focus, your engagement, your learning curve will suffer from that, but also your personal life as well. You won't be as present when you're hanging out with your girlfriends, with your friends, with your family members. You'll be thinking about work. You'll be thinking about how of a loser you are because you told yourself that you would work out after work or apply for an MBA or do a resume, but you don't because you're so tired, right? And so actually, I have a video coming up on my YouTube channel soon about this, is like how to stop feeling guilty. What's behind you feeling lazy? You're not lazy. You guys are not lazy if you're not doing something after work. You just spend 10 hours mentally exerting yourself. So then it's a game of identifying your top priorities and then narrowing it down to what are the key steps that I can realistically get done often. It could be every single day, it could be a couple of times a week, and be at peace with that. And we're back now to the example I gave, in the first question you asked me about how do we stay healthy? We stay healthy instead of saying, I need to, by the way, this is a mistake I did when I was in banking. I hired a fitness weightlifting coach, and he told me to meal prep 6 meals per day, weight everything, do macros while I was working in leveraged finance. So, 12, 14 hours days at some point, on the peak season. And, 1 hour, 60 minutes to 90-minute weightlifting workouts. I went all in, and I was like, I can't do everything, but it's an ego. It's an ego conversation.
Right.
But no, at some point you're just too exhausted. It's all about what is that one meal you can work on. So yeah.
Yeah, that definitely puts things into perspective. Like, I definitely agree with the prioritizing different things and only choose a few, because easily if you go on social media and you compare you with like other people or even your friends, and you might feel like you're not doing enough, but at the same time you have to recognize, like, even going to work is a big thing and it is already time consuming. You're already doing a lot. Yeah. So thank you.
You're showing up.
Yeah.
You're showing up. That's enough. We forget, all of us are guilty of that. We want always more, but we forget that just showing up, it's already the work sometimes.
Yeah, I definitely agree. Okay. As we slowly wrap up, Wafa, first, thank you so much for your time. I think our last question would just be like, how, for those who are not familiar with coaching or with therapy and like are entering the field, learning about the field for the first time, how does coaching help people, and what's the difference like between that and therapy?
I love talking about this topic because, therapy is so democratized, right? It's well known by everyone by now. Coaching is getting there slowly. And therapy is really focused about, the mental health, conversations around mental health. It really helps dysfunctional people. And what I mean by that is people who, struggle to be their normal selves when they're by themselves, or around people. So, they have crippling anxiety, they've experienced some severe trauma that, gets in the way of them living a normal life. So getting to work, having hobbies, it gets in the way. So therapy does address that in depth. And it's all about focusing on the past and what caused those issues. Okay, it dives really deep in there, and it's all about really listening to what that client has gone through, and really like going deep and peeling the layers of that. Coaching looks like therapy in a sense that it really pays attention to what the client needs, their stories, what they're feeling. So we really listen. It's a huge part of coaching is to make our clients feel heard and understood. And where it differs from therapy is that we don't dwell as much on the past. We make sure it's understood and, there's recognition around that. However, we then shift back the conversation towards, okay, so what now? You told me your goal was to get a new job or to, work towards a healthier and more balanced work life. What are you going to do about that? How can we help you achieve that realistically? That's exactly what I do with my clients. How can we help you transition careers? How can we help you, refine your professional branding? How can we help you live a healthier, more balanced lifestyle while all of what's going on in your life right now, while working in a fast-paced field without having you take a 2-week block leave, vacation somewhere to do the work? So it's all about action and moving into the future.
I guess last but not least, how can our viewers find you and follow you online?
Yeah, so you can find me on my website, wafa.com. In there, you can download a free career transition made simple guide that's relevant for both graduates and professionals that are already out there wondering what's my next step in my career. In there also, you can check out a discount that's on my coaching programs at the moment. The whole month of February 2022, you can save 200 euros on my coaching programs, my private coaching programs, to figure out what are the next steps in your career, whether you're a graduate or a professional. And also, let's work on how to implement, how to have a healthier lifestyle and more balanced work weeks. That's from my website. And then on social media, you can find me on LinkedIn, where I post every day of the week, and on YouTube as well, my new YouTube channel. So if you're still here and I've enjoyed this video, make sure you like Amy's video, give her a big subscribe. And while you're at it, subscribe to my YouTube channel. I've just created it this month because I've enjoyed this conversation so much. And I will be posting every week about career development, wellness at work, and work-life balance.
Yay. Wow, such good information. I'm excited to check out your YouTube channel and your new videos every week. But yeah, thank you so much, Wafa, for being here. And I know we both have busy schedules, so I'll just leave this interview here. And yes, everyone go subscribe and like our videos, and hope everyone enjoyed this video as well.
Bye.
Bye.